In the following video, I interview Zingdad, channel for Adamu of the monadic entity of the Pleiadian civilization, and author of the Ascension papers. Please join me for a fascinating interview where we discuss several aspects of the Ascension process, the convergence of timelines, December 21st, 2012, how Zingdad first made his connection with Adamu, and much more. I'm Magenta Pixie. Thank you for listening and enjoy the interview. Hi Zingdad, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed today by me.
Hi Magenta, thank you so much. It's really lovely to be able to talk to you and to your audience too.
Fantastic, lovely, because I know I've uploaded a couple of videos by you going back, I think it was 2008, 2009. I think that's when we met online, wasn't it, back then?
That's right. And it's almost like we made a connection back there, and that connection has been there, but it's really nice to be able to actually do something together through this interview.
Yeah, it is. And there is definitely a connection. It's this wonderful soul family that we're all reaching out to. So, yeah, you and I have talked about quite a few things. But one thing I don't think I've ever asked you, which I think is really interesting. And how did you begin, channeling Adamu in the first place? I mean, did this just sort of happen, or did you deliberately go into meditations to instigate the channeling? How did it happen for you?
Magenta, it's quite a long story, which I'm going to try and cut quite short.
Okay.
And the nitty gritty of it is that I first started speaking to my spirit guide really just out of a desperate yearning for very personal answers, for an understanding about why my life was the way it was, the pain and the anguish that I felt in my own soul that I couldn't find answers to, and more than that, looking for answers around why the world is the way it is. I mean, I tried to look to religion, I tried to look to various philosophies, and while some of the answers were good, they didn't really grip me. I didn't feel this is true. So I was aware that I had a spirit guide, and I decided that really I need to be in contact with this being, and I need to find out how to get answers from him. And it was a many year long process of trying to refine this ability to really hear when I'm being spoken to, and to understand what is the difference between my own ego making noise and the deep truth that's coming to me from this being. Now, so I was in conversations with my spirit guide, but very soon after that, I became aware of my own past life story, the incarnations that came before this one, and I was exploring those, and I found a being in the first incarnation that I can find, my earliest incarnation, a being who was to me, I suppose, a teacher, a very wise, wonderful, kind-hearted, caring teacher, master, friend, guru, all of that wrapped up in one being. So this was an incarnation in not on planet Earth, funnily enough, this master being, this wise person was Adamu. So seeing that I was in conversations with my spirit guide, I decided to then reach out and see if I couldn't find Adamu. So where are you now, and who are you, and what are you up to? And what I found, well, it just blew me away, because he was no longer incarnating, very much not an individual walking a planet somewhere in the world, but a completely ascended into its own unity being. And the Adamu that I could speak to was almost like a representative from this great being. And so I said, well, then I'm just purely curious. May I ask you questions? And the warmth and the love that came back from this being, and the welcoming. Yes, let's talk, find out. Let me share everything I know with you. And so I learned from this being that it is of the oneness, of the wholeness of the spirit entity of the Pleiadian civilization. It calls itself the monadic entity of the Pleiadian civilization. And Adamu is, he is an individuated portion of that. He represents that, speaks for and on behalf of that whole entity. And so is a font of the most profound wisdom, but more than wisdom, a kind of kind, caring, compassionate wisdom. And so I love to talk to him. I love to go to him for the answers to the big questions. How does that answer the question?
It's wonderful, and I know that you and I have been given very similar information from our own guides, if you like.
Yes.
When we've spoken, our information is very much in resonance with one another. So with you, was the communication very much conscious communication while you're awake? You're walking around, eyes open and awake, and Adamu's presence is there, and you can feel him, sense him, and talk to him. Or was this more in meditation, or was this more through automatic writing, or all three?
Okay, no, it's for me, it's very much a conscious process. I in the beginning used to go to great pains to kind of meditate and still my mind and be quiet, and in the hopes of making sure that the communications were as clear as possible. But I certainly never slipped into trance or anything like that ever happened to me. And I was later led to understand that while there's nothing wrong with doing that, that's not the process that my deepest soul wants for me. For me, it's important to be present, to be conscious, that I'm there, that I'm engaging, that I'm asking the questions. And so I suppose if you were to look at me, it would look like I'm really just talking to myself. If I'm typing the conversation, I'm typing the questions and typing the answers. But I can really feel the presence of the being that I'm speaking to. I can feel their essence. And I can certainly feel if it's a bit off, or if there is something that's not right about the conversation, then I can let it go. But for me, yes, it's a very, very, very much a conscious process.
Yeah. And again, same thing with me. I was told that there are a certain group of people now who are going to be in conscious communication. So it is almost as though the oneness, the essence of the guide is at one with the human aspect of self, and there's no trance needed. And as you say, not that that's bad, it's a different path, but it isn't the path obviously for you, and it's not the path for me either. I've been told the same thing.
I think if people want to, or if people engage in trance communication, it really does allow for their ego to completely get out the way, and it allows for this other being to really just use your body like an instrument. In fact, they often will call it the instrument.
Yes, they will.
But my own soul asks of me a different journey. So as I say, I have absolutely no judgment. I think it's wonderful that there are people that can do that. Because sometimes it's hard because I'm present inside the same mind that's having the conversation. I sometimes struggle to receive the answers or to get the concepts. And I sometimes have to go at it a few times, until it really feels right. And maybe for a trance channeler, that would have been easier. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And sometimes for me, linking in through writing is sometimes easier. Get a pure link there, because you can sort of remove the conscious mind a little bit more when you're writing and just let that flow. And I presume that must be the same for you.
Very
because
much so.
you've written so much, which
yes.
I was going to ask you that
very
in a minute.
Much so.
Firstly, before I come to your wonderful writing, I'd like to ask, how long have you been in communication with Adamu then, altogether in this life?
I suppose I first became aware of him something like 6-7 years ago, fluent, comfortable conversation happened probably 6 years ago, but then it's been on and off. Different times I've been focusing maybe more on my guide 8, and sometimes more my own higher self, sometimes more Adamu. So it's on and off depending on what I'm doing in my life.
And mostly the information you've been given from Adamu is about what's happening on planet Earth right now and the Ascension. Is that correct?
A fair amount of it is about that, yes, certainly. From Adamu's perspective, what he tells me is that this being, this entity, this oneness that he is a part of, is in its own self is also ascending. It's also growing, and it's moving towards true, pure oneness. And before it does that, the last thing it does is it looks back into the reality in which it has been playing, in this much bigger than our universe, the greater reality in which our universe is. It looks back and it wants to gift what it is to this universe, to life. And so it finds as many ways as it can to reach out and to lovingly gift itself, its wisdom, its knowledge. And inevitably that's going to be about spiritual growth. It's going to be about evolution of the soul, which we call ascension.
Yeah. So as Adamu moves into pure service, if you like, with you, and then you learn and blend with him and then move into pure service yourself as his conduit.
Yeah, but it's more than service. It's actually, it's the only way we can respond to life. It's simply expressing your soul, and giving what you are. And I guess at that level, it's really, it's all that you can do.
Wow, that's lovely. So, you've written a book, haven't you, at the moment? You've already written one and you're writing another one now. Can you talk about your writing?
Great, thanks. Yeah. I wrote a book called The Ascension Papers. It's it's I suppose 3 parts, a book in 3 parts. The first part is the journey from fear to love. It's recognizing the fact that there are so many reasons that we have why we shouldn't trust, why we shouldn't simply engage, why we shouldn't believe that all is one. Because it's very nice to say, oh, all is one and it's all perfect and we're the creators of our own reality. Very nice to say, but practically in our lives, there are so many reasons why we should believe that maybe that's not so, why we should doubt and fear and not trust each other and all this kind of stuff. So these are the questions I had, and I put them to my own higher self, I put them to my spirit guide 8, and they addressed these issues for me one by one with great patience and kindness, gentleness, but a firmness with the truth. That really, ultimately, we're all one. We're all part of the oneness. We create our reality, and nothing is not as it should be. So that's the first part of the journey from fear to love, and that's book 1 of the Ascension Papers. I'm very busy writing book 2. With book 2, I start from the premise: all right, the shackles of fear are undone. I no longer need to fear that it's all wrong. Now what? Well, now it's a whole lot of amazing questions. So what is our world? How does it work? What do we want? Where are we going? So that's book 2. And then book 3, which I'll eventually get to, will really be about a co-creation of the new reality that we desire to live in.
Fantastic. So are the books written in a format of a conversation between you and Adamu, or is the entire book channeled from Adamu himself through you?
Exactly so. It's a conversation. As I say, book 1 is with my higher self, being called Joy Divine, and book 2 is and with my spirit guide 8. Book 2 we tail off with 8 and we start with Adamu. And the interesting thing is, Adamu has let me know that he wants the conversations or the messages to be much more succinct. Because I have a tendency to the verbose, and I like to really kind of get into the questions and really delve, and Adamu wants it to be a lot more punchy. And as a result, he has encouraged me to make videos, which are actually the text of those videos are going to be chapters of this book that we're busy building together. So it forces me to stick to the 10-minute, the 10-minute boundary per issue.
And are those videos going to be uploaded, or are they on YouTube?
As I go, I'm making them available. I suppose people who've engaged with the videos probably don't know that this is actually book 2 of the Ascension papers busy forming before their eyes, because it doesn't. I mean, they have their own integrity. They hang together on their own. It's a series of videos that's called A Dharma Speaks, and yet there are a series, and they are available. They're up on YouTube right now.
Yes, I've posted some of those on my Facebook and liked them
Thank
on my
you,
YouTube. And so where can people get hold of the Ascension Papers Part 1 that's already written? Where can they get hold of that book if they want to read it?
Yeah, thank you for that. My website, Zingdad.com, is where I gather all my stuff together, and book 1 is there. They can get it in an ebook form. It's also available in soft cover. And then book 2, as I write, I like to share stuff while it's in process. So as I write, it's available in its kind of semi-edited form, also on my website, that people can read what I've done so far. They can comment, they can come and engage with me, they can have fun with it. So that's all there. The Adamu Speak stuff is all there, all on my website, www.zingdad.com.
So if people want to engage with you directly and ask you questions directly, they can join your website and actually join in with forums and communicate with you. Fabulous.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, as with anybody who's engaging with many people at the same time, I end up getting a lot more questions and a lot more engagement than I can ever really hope to cope with. But,
yeah.
But I do it anyway, and I like to. I get as far as I can, and I answer as many questions as I can, because ultimately, that's the reason I'm doing all this stuff. I mean, I'm not writing books because I want to be a famous author. I'm writing books because it's a vehicle by which I can engage with other people who are also on the same soul journey, who are also heading towards oneness. It's almost like a tool for a handshake, really what it is.
Yeah, and I've been on your website and it's fabulous. So I would recommend anyone who's interested to join the website and have a look at some of your work. In the communication, in our conversation, you mentioned your spirit guide 8 and Adamu. So what's the difference there between those two entities? Are they two aspects of one entity, or two individualized aspects of a more separate entities? Can you talk about that?
Sure. It gets quite complicated because, I mean, on some level we're all one.
Yeah.
So on some level you are the other me.
Yeah. And my 9 are Adamu, and on that level they're all the same.
On some level it's all one, and it's all life, it's all God, it's all consciousness. But there is also, in as much as when you look at a rainbow, what you're seeing is one white light split into many hues. You can look and you can say, this is yellow and that is red. From that perspective, these are very different, separate beings. 8 is not, he's not a Pleiadian being. He's never incarnated in the way that we would understand incarnation. He is involved, as I understand, with the structure of this reality. He has a role that he plays in the holding of this reality, so that we can play the games we're wanting to play down here. He has a role that he plays, but he hasn't expressed himself in incarnations. Whereas Adamu, on the other hand, throughout this universe, well, certainly throughout this galaxy, there are planets that are teeming with life.
Is 8 extraterrestrial, or more an entity that is closer to the physical realm?
I would say he's probably something like extra-dimensional.
Right.
He's not having expressed himself on another planet or in this reality. He exists on a functional level somewhere at the 6th and 7th dimensional level.
And are you in regular contact with both of them right now, with 8 and with Adamu?
With Adamu, it's almost like a conscious effort. It's almost like picking up the phone and dialing a friend. So Adamu he's not right here with me all the time, whereas 8 is my spirit guide, and before I entered this present incarnation, I was very nervous about it. I didn't want to incarnate. I don't mind telling you. I was very scared of my previous incarnation wasn't a very happy event. So, I really didn't want to incarnate, and I kind of swore 8 to sticking to my side like glue and being with me at every step of the way, and he is. I have no idea what it's like not to have 8 really right by my side, absolutely present with me. This whole human incarnation, this whole experience has been like that.
So if anyone out there is listening to this now and then they don't feel that they are in contact with their spirit guide, what's a good way that they can get into contact and, make that connection as clear and as focused that you have? What can they do?
That's a good question, and it's I don't know that I have answers for other people. I can certainly share what is true for me, but I don't know that this is necessarily true for everybody else. And what's true for me is that my spirit guide is probably the being that is around me, that loves me the most unconditionally, and in fact that's part of why he and I have this partnership, that he is the spirit guide and I am the incarnating portion. So, from my perspective, it must be true that this being wants to be here with me, wants to look after me, wants to be present for my every moment. Now I can obviously get in the way of that. I can make his life more difficult. I can obstruct his assistance, or I can assist it. So that's the first point for me, is to actually be conscious. All right, I have a spirit guide. This is a good thing, and I want this being to be helping me. So to just take a moment and say, I invite this. Please, I want to be present to my spirit guide, and I invite interaction, and I request your assistance in my life. I trust that you have the wisdom to know what's best for me and to look after me from behind the scenes, from the spiritual perspective. So just to make that choice. And then also, we reside here in this reality. One of the most notable features of the reality we reside in is a thing called the Veil of Unknowing, otherwise known as the Veil of Forgetfulness. It means that if you incarnate, you cannot not doubt. You're always going to be able to doubt. You're always going to be able to have another perspective and say, oh no, that was just, I don't know, some normal explainable phenomenon. So don't force your spirit guide into a position where it proves absolutely its existence, because you're not going to win that game. You are here as an expression of your soul to experience and discover yourself from a place of not knowing. You can't get around that. So play a little. Allow a little, be flexible a little, and say to your spirit guide, show me your presence, show me that you're here, let me know. Trust your heart, because it's through your heart, and I don't mean the surface feelings. I mean the very core of your being, the very center of your being, your deepest intuitions. That's where you are in connection with your spirit guide. So trust your heart, listen, and see what happens.
Thank you for that response, Zingdad. That is a really good response, very much in alignment with very much the sort of thing that I would say as well, in different words. But I'm in very much agreement with what you said. And I also agree when you said about it's different for everyone. You can only really speak for what is true for you, because it is that way. Every single person has a different way of connecting, and sometimes they might think they're doing it wrong, and there is no wrong. It's the way it is for you, and everyone's inner spiritual experience is different. Would you agree with that?
Well, Magenta, absolutely everything in this universe is unique. Right from, there are apparently 50 trillion cells or thereabouts in the average adult human body. Every single one of them is different from every other one of them. Now, if everything in the universe is unique, why do we expect that we should be the same as each other? So we're all unique, we're all different, our experiences are going to be different, and our perspectives are different, our truths are different. So really, I think the first point is to accept that what is going on with you is unique and is what's going on with you. And when somebody is reporting, for example, I write these books and I'm in communication with my spirit guide. Others who are not in communication with their spirit guide feel that they are somehow wrong, broken, that they're not getting it, that they're failing at this school called life or something. And it might very well be that their journey is to connect in a different way from what I'm connecting, or to find a whole new different path home or something like that. So I don't try to speak for others. I don't try to say what should be true for somebody else.
Exactly. And, there are people out there that are destined to be painters or actors or poets or work with children, and their channeling experience, their connection with the higher self will come out in a completely different way to perhaps how you and I are doing it. So I totally agree. Looking at the communication that you are having with 8 and with the Dharma about the planet as it is now, the ascension process, and what's really going on for us sort of as a global consciousness, humanity. I mean, we're right in the middle of 2012. It's now middle of May. Have you been given information about this year, particularly about 2012, or have you been given information about anything that can help us as a collective now go forward with changes that potentially might occur?
Yes. Well, firstly, what I understand is that we are approaching the very center of the window period, and the window period is about the divergence of timelines. So up to now, we have had one planetary consciousness which we have all been co-creating, and whether you like it or not, you've chosen to incarnate here, so you've chosen to co-create with others that are here. But there is a hugely diverse range of what is being created here, and that diverse range has allowed for a lot of conflict. It's allowed for a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, because we've come here to offer ourselves the choices. And there are vast ranges of choices that can be expressed broadly as either service to self or service to other, or indeed unity consciousness, or another choice which is simply not to choose, to reside in the state of duality. So we're presented with these choices. Now, very often we stand in judgment of those that are presenting the choices that we're not choosing. So, for example, we very easily slip into judgment of the dark cabal and the fact that they are presenting us with a service to self-choice. When in fact, as hard as this might be to see, they're really doing their job. They're presenting us with that as an option. So, if you choose something other than service to self, you're going to be really, really sure that that service to self is not what you want. Because you've really been presented every opportunity to choose that. So if you're not duking it out to be as powerful as you can be at the top of some huge corporate, and you're in fact making choices which are from your heart, which are about love, which are about connection, then that's really who you are. And this is the window period that we're now in, where you have to now choose your horse, because the opportunity to make up your mind is running out. And as that opportunity runs out, so timelines will begin to diverge. So you will find yourself surrounded more and more by people who are of the polarity or of the choice that you have chosen to be. So this is going to be a time of a lot of flux, a lot of movement. You'll find things like relationships breaking up, people leaving jobs, moving town. This is a time of flux, as new connections and new choices settle in. And you're going to see reflected around you more and more of what you're putting out. So the very best advice that I can think of is to become very conscious. Become conscious of who you are, of what you're choosing, and of what you're putting out. Because what you put out will come back to you. And more and faster. You've probably heard it said that time is speeding up. And it's an idea that resonates. People go, oh yeah, time is speeding up. But the second hand on our watches isn't moving any faster. What it actually means is the gap between what we create, and in fact the cause, and what we get back, which is the effect, that gap is getting closer and closer. Where before you could put something out into the world and it might be, 6 weeks or 8 weeks before it comes back to you. So you could almost pretend to yourself that you're not creating your reality. That gap is closing now. More and more clearly, you are going to see that what you put out is what you get back. And when you see it, you can't doubt that you are creating your reality unless you're really trying to doubt that. And so that's what's happening now. So the very best advice I can give is to become very conscious and to choose with great care what you're going to put out into the world around you. It will come back.
I couldn't agree more, and I've been told exactly the same thing from the 9. So I absolutely confirm from my own source everything you've just said. Absolutely. You talk about, the choice. We need to make that choice, and time to make that choice is running out. Is there a window with this before these timelines actually diverge? I mean, are we looking at, I know we shouldn't project ourselves to any particular time, and staying in the now moment is so very important in order to become conscious, but are we looking at sort of 21st of December 2012, or is this going further? I mean, do we have time to find what it is we want as individuals?
The way I understand it, Magenta, and these things are a bit difficult because we as 3D humans are so wrapped up in space and time and these things as being real, as being solid, and we think space and time is real and matter is real and ideas are not real, and it's quite the opposite way around. So it's kind of difficult to deal with these spiritual concepts in a very material way. But that said, the way I understand it is that the very center of the window is 21 December 2012, which means leading up to that, we are going to be offered with ever more energy. We are going to be offered these choices. And I suppose you just need to look in the news or look around you at what's going on in conversations around you. There's at the same time a lot more doom and gloom, and at the same time a lot more light and hope. It's all going on. It's amping up. It's the volumes are being turned up. And this will increase until 21 December 2012. And from there, opportunities for choice will tail off and will close down for you. How and exactly when? Well, that'll depend on your soul, on your deepest soul purpose. Certainly, I'm not anticipating the world ending or anything like that. I'm not anticipating a cataclysmic event and everything is cut off and no more. But there might, on a smaller scale, there might be very dramatic things happening in your locale wherever you are in the world. There might be fairly dramatic things going on in some places. But what I'm saying is that I'm not anticipating one end of world event on 21 December 2012 as many people are.
Yes, absolutely. And I, again, couldn't agree more. I've been told, more or less exactly the same thing that you're saying. Some people seem to feel that someone around the 21st of December 2012, that they are going somewhere. And yes, that's true. That is a good metaphor, I feel. But there are those that perhaps interpret that as completely leaving the 3D dimension behind, or perhaps more literally that there'll be spaceships coming down to pick us up and take us off to other planets. What do you think that metaphor means when we get the information we are going somewhere, that we are sort of rising or ascending, and that's the culmination of it? I mean, do you think all those things, like the dimensional changes happening right now?
It's hard for me because, again, I don't know what's going to be true for other people, and I don't know, for example, that there isn't going to be something very dramatic happening to somebody somewhere in the world. So I can't really speak to that. It might be that somebody's going to get picked up and taken home to, I don't know, the Pleiades. I don't know. That might be. I know for myself that ascension is it's almost a pity that the word is ascension, because people have this idea of being physically picked up as if they're going somewhere. And it's actually not so much that you go somewhere as that your spirit awakens. And you can certainly be a higher dimensional consciousness and still express yourself through this three-dimensional body. You can certainly do that. And for myself, I'm engaging in a process of awakening, of discovering who I really am, of coming to my true power, my authentic power, which is very different from ego power. It's so this is the process I'm engaged in, and I don't want to go anywhere. This planet it's my beloved other. I really, really love this planet. I found a corner of the planet that I can call home, that feels right for me, and I belong here. So I for one, I am what I like to call an earth partner. I'm sticking around. I'm in my right place. Others might know in their souls that they're not in their right place, and that they were just here for a period, for a transition, to do something, and then they're flitting. That might be true for them. Certainly, I have an anticipation that as consciousness rises, as we are no longer trapped by the illusions of the power of governments and politics and maybe religiosity, as we are able to open our eyes, certainly I do believe we'll begin to see the starships that are in our environment, and be able to engage with beings from other planets and other dimensions. I'm anticipating all of that. But I think if you're waiting for 2012 to somehow come and fix you, then I think you're missing the point.
Yes, I couldn't agree more again. Absolutely fantastic answer to that question. Coming back to the Dark Cabal, I completely agree with what you said about that they are doing their job from that perspective. It's all playing out how we designed it to play out, and they are doing what they're here to do from that perspective. But looking from a more 3D perspective, obviously, from that point of view, people have overstepped the mark, if you like, and not followed certain laws of free will, and have tried to move into power and control. And from that perspective, there's a lot of talk at the moment on the internet about, and I do get information from the Nine that mirrors this, that says that everything that's been hidden from us, whether it's a beautifully designed game, or whether it's been a deliberate taking of our power, or both, there has definitely been a hidden agenda going on, and there's been things going on behind the scenes that the majority of people have not been privy to. And what a lot of people are talking about right now is that sort of around about now, sort of May 2012 being a window for this, is everything that's been hidden is coming to light. And I'm talking about, certain misdemeanors within the economy, things that have been hidden from us regarding, health and free energy. And do you get any information about the population sort of waking up because truth is coming their way, if you like, and the Dark Cabal are, if you want for want of a better phrase, being made to, answer for their misdeeds, if you like? Anything like?
Yeah, Magenta, what I get about this is that indeed this is the time of change, and this is the time when the tissue of lies starts to be ripped, when we start to see through the illusions. And what happens with that is it's another opportunity again for us to choose. Where are we aligning ourselves? What are we attaching ourselves to? What are we declaring ourselves to be? And this is an opportunity for us either to go into fear and panic, because like it or not, the Dark Cabal have been very often, what I've understood is from their perspective, they have very often thought of themselves like I don't know, shepherds or something like that. They have thought of themselves as tending the herd of humanity. And so they have provided us and managed our financial systems, etc. Now, clearly, they have liked to reap the rewards for that. But like it or lump it, this financial system, the world systems that we really believe in, that we put our security and our faith into, those things tumble when the Dark Cabal tumbles. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for us to get very, very anxious and frightened and angry and irrational and to start behaving in all kinds of crazy ways. Or it's an opportunity for us to say, well, it's okay. I am not my money. I am not my insurance policies. I am what? I am love. I am that which reaches out and helps my fellow human being. Who are you in this time of insecurity and challenge? So that's what I understand. It's about a layer of deception being removed. And I also understand that layer of deception was absolutely essential for the game to play as it has played up to now. It's just that the game is now changing.
Yes, absolutely. I've been told the same thing as well. When I come to the 9 with these questions in perhaps a 3D way, I get very much the same answer back. It's always an opportunity for you to choose. And what the 9 say to me, and I don't know if Adamu or 8 have told you the same thing, is these timelines that are moving into this point of divergence, you can actually, on an individual level, if you're looking at us all from different perspectives, each person may call to them a different version of events that the overall humanity is experiencing. So is it the case that, from that point of view, there are some people that are going to go into a reality that does look a little bit like their worst fears, new world order and everything else. And you've got all these others that are going into this golden age and that's very evident now, isn't it, already?
What I understand is that the ultimate truth is that all is one. And if that is true, then the subjective truth is that we are each absolutely creating our reality from our perspective. Now that's sometimes quite hard to swallow and quite hard to believe, because there is so much in our reality that tells us we are victims. And really, as I say early in our chat, from the book 1 of the Ascension papers was very much about stripping away my doubts and disbelief in the fact that I'm the creator of my reality. But to come full circle and answer your question, we are each creating our reality from our perspective. And we don't create it with our wishes or with our surface thoughts. We create it with who we are. So you don't get what you want, you get what you are. Which is why it's really important to work with your deepest essential nature and not to just try and change your thoughts or work on the surface. And what you are will reflect back at you in your reality, in your environment. And even before the timelines diverge, you can experience that if you simply decide for the next 2 weeks to be really consistent in what you're putting out. Make a choice about what you want to put out. And remind yourself, put a little, mark on your hand or something to remind you to keep consistently coming back to putting out, let's say, love or compassion or joy, something like that. And for 2 weeks, only put that out. See how your reality changes, and it will change. And that's an experiment that can show you what is really coming, because it's going to be that to the power 1,000. What you are is going to come back to you very, very clearly. And if what you are is about greed and selfish and damn the rest of the world, I'm getting mine, well, good luck, because you're going to be surrounded by that.
Yeah. So this whole law of attraction, it does go a lot deeper perhaps, and maybe this is why some people who do try the law of attraction tools over and over again, it's not working for them, because they are putting out visions of the things that they want, and yet what they are is very much in a place of wanting and desire, so they're not actually manifesting those thoughts. Do you think that's the case?
Spot on, exactly.
Yeah. Right. Yep, I have the same information from the 9, and it's not easy to do. I remember when the 9 first showed me this procedure, I said to them, I can't do it, that's impossible. And they showed me, that this reality where I had done it, and I did. And it's you kind of you have to live it, don't you? You have to really live everything within a beingness.
There are fortunately some spiritual tools that can help, because it can be terribly confusing. If what I am is what I'm getting, and what I'm getting is all kinds of painful and confusing, and I feel like I'm a victim to my reality, and it's all terrible and stuff's falling down around my ears, how can I change what I am? It feels like an impossibility. But there are in fact tools, and if you are sure that you want to make changes to yourself, because the life around you is like a hall of mirrors. It's really just reflecting you back at you. Now, if you're going to go around and try and change the mirrors, then good luck, because you can't change the mirrors. They simply reflect you back at you. But if you get real about it and say, all right, I accept life, I accept what it is, now let me be willing to change myself, then you can actually engage in this process, and you can find out what it is that the mirrors are showing you, why they're showing that to you, and how you can make new choices about yourself. Now, there is a sequence of steps that you can take to address each one of those issues, which in fact Adamu has taught me, and I'm going to quite soon be getting to those. There's a 5-step process. And once you've been through the process, it's quite magnificent. Once you've been through the process once, you start to see your reality changing in powerful ways, and you can then no longer doubt. And you say, well, all right. Now, whenever I see in the mirror of the universe around me, whenever I see something that's fearful or painful or angry or scary, I don't lash out and label them as being wrong. I go back to myself and make a new choice about myself, and go through the 5-step process. And step by step, iteration by iteration, it's magnificent. Life changes.
Wow, thank you. Lovely. Might I ask you something about the biological aspect of the ascension? Have you been told perhaps that we are changing from a carbon-based cellular form to a crystalline-based form, or that perhaps our DNA is moving from a double helix into a 12-strand, or some other similar metaphor to show you that we are becoming more and more light, and that something is really happening at the cellular level? Have you had any information about that?
That's not something I have specifically received a lot of information around, Magenta, but I must admit that is something that I personally would struggle with. I would me as the incarnated person, as a result of my interest, I read a lot about genetics. My soulmate and life partner studied as a geneticist, and I mean, I was in a lab at some point and we were doing this. We were isolating genes and stuff like that. So it's something that I unfortunately have locked the logical, analytical, rational part of my mind up over.
Okay.
So I recognize that this for me. I would ask too many questions and get too stuck in the physical of where is the proof and all that kind of stuff. So as a result, we daintily sidestep that issue and move on to ones that I can deal with.
Okay, well, perhaps I can sidestep it into something similar. For example, taking care of the physical body. I mean, if you're going to go forward into this place where you reflect everything into your life that you are, so that you can make that choice to experience a golden age rather than a new world order, if you like, and help with that whole timeline shifting of Earth. Is the physical body important? I mean, how do we need to look after the physical body? And I'm talking about, exercise, nutrition. Is it important to eat certain foods? Are there certain foods that don't align with our energy? Or is that not particularly something you would subscribe to? Can we eat whatever we want as long as we believe we're going to be healthy and fine? And do you have any information on how to take care of the physical body?
Yeah, beautiful question. Thank you. The physical body is a metaphor for the self.
Yes.
It's an opportunity for me to see myself expressed back at myself. And there are a number of consciousnesses that, in fact, many consciousnesses that work very hard to allow us to experience our physical bodies. Now, obviously, you are not your body. Your body is simply, not simply, it's a vehicle that's showing you yourself. So, for example, our ailments, the things that go wrong with our bodies. Western medicine will teach us that we need to silence the pain. We need to just make it feel better, and then we can carry on. But in fact, our ailments are pointing us always towards some deeper issue. So there will be an underlying emotional blockage, which will then manifest in the physical form. And underlying that emotional blockage is some very deep-seated spiritual choice. Somewhere in this life, in a past life, when we were children, we made a vow. I will never ever do this or that, or never allow that to happen to me. And that has possibly led to a blockage, which we now feel an emotional discomfort over, which then spills over and expresses in the physical. So it's very important that we listen to our bodies, that we respect our bodies, for they are indeed wise teachers and have such a beautiful ability to show us in a very practical, very physical way what's actually going on with us. So that's the first half, is to love and trust and respect the body. The second half is that, yes, absolutely, if you intend to travel with this vehicle, then you better take care of the vehicle. And certainly there are behaviors and choices which are more resonant with higher vibratory ways of being, and there are ways and choices which are resonant with a lower vibratory way of being. So if you know something is not good for you, is toxic to your health, don't do it. Simple as that. And you will know. I mean, you can trust your own heart and you can trust your own experience. You know what's good for you and what's not good for you. As to what to eat and what not to eat, it's quite a personal thing, because the place at which you are vibrating, the level of your own energetic vibration will have foods that are appropriate for it. If you try and force yourself to eat foods that are inappropriate for that level of vibration, you won't enjoy the foods, you'll feel ill, you won't feel nourished. So for some people it's appropriate even that they should be eating meat and things like that, because they need the weight of that vibration. For many people who find themselves on an ascension path, they realize that they simply can't be eating meat anymore, and move towards vegetarian or possibly even vegan. But in all of this, I would say, go to your heart, trust yourself, eat what is right for you to eat what is conducive for your journey, and more importantly than that, don't be in judgment of others that are elsewhere.
Yeah, so going to say, because if you're judging others, I say, oh, you're eating meat and you shouldn't be, or you don't want to eat that because it's bad for you. You're taking your mindset away from your own self and moving it into other people and living in judgment of them, and then you become judgment, which will then come back at you.
Well, I mean, what's the point of doing all the spiritual eating when in our souls, we're just making ourselves better than everybody else because, oh, I'm eating lentils and brown rice for dinner. Oh, you're eating a steak, you evil person. So, I don't know where you're at. Maybe that steak is exactly right for you. I don't know. I can hope that you have, that you've taken the time to give the respect for the sacrifice that an animal somewhere has given so that you can eat that. But that's my stuff. That's my stuff. If I'm right with me, I don't need to be wrong with you.
So one more question, which I always ask anyone who is a channel and who is connected to the higher self and is intuitive. I always ask them, when it comes to this whole sort of convergence of timelines and attracting what you are into your life and moving into that reality, when you look forward as Zingdad, through your eyes and through the eyes of 8 and Adamu, do you see your reality and the reality for others as being a positive future for us to look forward to here on Earth?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I said to you earlier that I was very hesitant to incarnate. I really didn't want to. But now that I'm here and I have found my home and I found my belonging, I see such a bright, golden, beautiful future. The timelines will diverge. Those that want to still play out the fearful, the painful, my deepest compassion goes to them. They're going to go where they need to go. But there is a very, very beautiful, bright, golden future waiting for us. And it's busy dawning now. It's busy happening. It's not something we have to just wait for and hold on to. And it's busy happening. And join together with others who are of like-minded consciousness. Find others, find them on the net, find people and begin seeing this new future in together, because it is happening.
Wonderful. So if you want that positive future, follow the advice that you've given today. Become conscious, connect with the higher self or the guides, take care of the body, do whatever it takes to move into that alignment of self so that you are, working individually with yourself rather than worrying about what's happening outside, what's going on the news, what your neighbour's doing. Find that inner balance yourself and become conscious. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there is one last question, actually. You are a musician as well, aren't you? Are you still working on your music at the moment, or is that something that's taken a back seat while you've been writing?
Oh gosh, Magenta, I don't know that I consider myself a musician. When I started out on this journey, I was told very clearly that I will always have everything that I need to have. And when I have needed to be able to create music, for various things, I do guided meditations and things like that. When I've needed to be able to create music, then I've been able to do that. When I've needed to create visual things, art. I mean, I could never do art in my life, but when I needed to, I could. And so I do all the visual art for my website. I do fractal art, but I don't consider myself a visual artist either. So it's just something that arrived for me at some point, and I found I could do it without. I had no music training, but I made some music and it pleased me. I enjoyed it. But no, I haven't been doing that for quite some time, and it is one of the things that I certainly will get back to because I enjoy doing it so much.
Right. So if you want to be creative, then if you put your intention there, you should be able to turn your hand to any aspect of creativity that you want to.
It's interesting. There is a word, genius, and the word actually means being in or being a channel for your higher self. That's the origin of this word. That your most godlike creative self just reaches through you and does the work. Now, I don't want to label myself a genius, but what I'm saying is that this is actually available to everybody. If you are willing to get out the way and allow the creativity to flow, if you're willing to let go of the need for external approval for having a qualification in it, or for having somebody teach you how. If you're willing to play, bring really curiosity, playful curiosity to it, and allow your heart to open and allow your higher self to reach through you, you can do anything.
And that makes sense, because the 9 have been telling me, well, ever since I started to communicate with them about this whole process, is that we're becoming geniuses. So that makes sense, because I didn't know it meant be a channel for your higher self. So Zingdad, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been fantastic. And would you come and talk to me again and have another conversation on YouTube?
Absolutely. I'd love to, Magenta. This was lots and lots of fun, and I really did enjoy talking to you, and I love the questions you posed. Thank you so much. I really did enjoy it.
Thank you. Well, you've been listening to me, Magenta Pixie, talking to Zingdad today, and his website is right in front of you right now, and if you want to get hold of him, that's where you'll find him. Thank you, Zingdad.
Thank you, Magenta.